Hey guys, so welcome to another modeling video. So this time we are going to create the tree, but first I want you to further understand Dynamesh and subdividing. So Dynamesh is something like this. This is an example from my character course. So this is like an answer from a student on the beginner's course. Just click the Q&A and just scroll down. This explains the Dynamesh and subdivision. But I'm going to use this as reference, as you can see right here. So you are going to apply Dynamesh if you are out of resolution in your mesh. So like if you have a skewing problem like this, say you have this low poly mesh right here, and you sculpt on that. But as you can see, it can only go so far because you have a low poly mesh. What you can do to further sculpt on that is you can Dynamesh is going to respread your topology. So you can kind of like re-sculpt on that. But as you can see right here, it's going to blur the definition. As you can see, we have something like this. It's very clean. I don't know if you can see that right here. As you can see, it's a very, very clean. We have this topology going down right here, and it just looks great, right? But this one kind of like blurs it out right here. So if you have a already detailed mesh, you don't want to do Dynamesh. Dynamesh is only for doing bases, to set up your bases, your basic shape. Then after you set that up, that's when you subdivide to add further details into your mesh. So in terms of character creation, when you're creating your character base, your body, what you do first is like you do the initial shape and then you Dynamesh it. And then you keep Dynameshing until you get it right. And after all the fundamentals are there, all the basic stuff, the face shape, the body shape, and boobs, and all that stuff, you are going to start adding details. And that's when you start subdividing. Okay, so remember Dynamesh is used to put your bases. You can't use it if you already put your details because it's gonna blur it out, just like this. Okay? So this is your subdivide right here. Subdivision is going to keep the initial topology of your mesh. So just look at this one. It has this one, right? So if you subdivide that, it's going to keep that line right there, and it's going to add a loop in between that, just like you see right here. So that's basically what subdividing is. It's not going to touch or redraw your whole topology. It's just going to add loops in between them. So if you have something like this, as you can see, it's either going to smooth that or it's going to stay the same. It's just going to add a loop in between that. So if you want to prevent this from smoothing out, all you have to do is go to Zbrush and disable the smooth. And then it's going to add a topology in the middle, right here in between, but it's going to keep that initial shape. This sharp shape right here. So that's the difference between Dynamesh and subdividing. And we are going to use that right now on Zbrush. So let's go ahead and transfer to Zbrush right here. I'm going to hide this and we are going to separate our tree. So go to change your selection into either this two. And I'm just going to separate this. So split hidden. I'm going to show this and hide the rest. And what I'm going to do next is I am going to duplicate this. So I just click the duplicate right here and I'm going to work on the first one first. So as you can see, this is our base right here. And this can be split if we want to, even though they have the same colors. As long as like they are individual objects and they're not like merged together vertex-wise in Maya, they can be split if we hit this thing right here. Split to parts. And as you can see now, some of them are kind of like, let's see. This is our initial one, I think. Scroll down. Alright, so this is the one that we duplicate, so this one's good. But this is our tree parts right here, and as you can see, they're all separated. So keep that in mind. Even if they have the same colors, they can be split, as long as they're not merged completely in Maya vertex-wise. So something like this. So like I said, if we want to isolate one, as you can see, we can work on that separately, and this one too, we can work on this separately. So if you have two colors that are the same like this, you can just quickly mask, Control W, and change that, and show everything else. Hold Control Shift and left mouse click outside. So if you split every single part right here, and you merge them, notice that every single part is going to have a completely different color, and that's useful if you want to work that way and isolate each you know? So like if you don't want to go, say everything is the same color, and you don't want to go click this one and change kind of like the color, you know, you can always just split them and they're all gonna have their own separate color assigned to them. So you can use that like that. But let's go ahead and kind of make a tree out of this using our Maya base right here. I'm gonna make sure this is open, and I'm gonna close this, go to geometry, and we are going to, of course, Dynamesh this. So this one. As you can see now, everything is connected and everything should have the same color. So this is Dynamesh. And it's not gonna have anything like this is not gonna be like skewed all the way inside. It's not gonna be like this mesh is all the way right here. It's not gonna be like that. Like, if you know what I mean, everything is connected outside. The inside is hollow. Think of it like your Easter eggs, those chocolate stuff, those bunny giant chocolate things, and you think it's not hollow and there's a lot of chocolate, but basically everything inside it is hollow. So yeah, it's kind of like a disappointment, if that makes any sense, but that's what Dynamesh does. So I'm basically just smoothing things out. As you can see, it's really easy to make trees in Zbrush. Just do your bases in Maya and just kind of like Dynamesh this and kind of shape it the way you want. So what I usually do is, okay, so I hold shift and I play with the intensity. If you know how trees work, usually the top parts are really thin and the bottom parts of the branches are thick. They are thick. So you can use the inflate. Just inflate everything if you want. You have pinch right here. If you can't remember the names, just remember the names right here. Like, say you have a pinch, you know, to open the brushes, you are going to press B. And what's the name of the brush? The name of the brush is pinch, so press P. And it should show, like, right here. Just remember the name of the brush that we are using and you're perfectly fine. You don't need to remember the shortcut for it, like BC, B. Just remember the name of the brush. Okay? So after I have something like this, what I usually do is start moving things. So I use my move brush, kind of like go to different axes, and you know, just move stuff. Something like this, and go down here. Because you know how trees are, they're not completely, I mean, they are rigid, but they're flowy. It's like octopus tentacle. Wait, no, that's a very bad metaphor for this. But yeah, if you know what I mean. They're not completely straight. We need to add a little bit of flow into this. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So something like this. I'm going to teach you guys a little bit of good shortcut right here. So if you go to your brushes and you hit S and find an animal here. Snake. Where's that? Snake hook, right here. Snake hook is basically like this. Left mouse click, drag. As you can see, you can just easily add a tentacle. Say you're making an octopus model, right? It's like, just drag. And you can add new shape. But I'm doing a bad example right now. What you can do first though is divide this and make your brush bigger and drag. As you can see, now we have a different shape. And it should look like this. As you can see, our topology is kind of skewed. Now, how are you going to fix this? Dynamesh. You're going to Dynamesh this. So if you Dynamesh, as you can see, now it rewrites that thing. Now it's fixed. As you can see, we have something that looks like a tree now, which is great. And by the way, do you know why this is black? I'll let you guess. 3, 2, 1. Too late. It's because like this. This is on this color. If you drag it all the way up and you just hit fill object, it should turn into white again. Make sure that you are on RGB though, so you're applying the color, okay? So if we put this on red and we snake hook again, this should be red. And if we go to white, it should be white. Okay? So something like that, and I'm gonna use my move brush and just move things. I told you it's not rocket science making this, it's really easy and fun. Zbrush is really fun. It takes the technical things out of modeling. I've modeled box before, like box modeling. Those are always too boring for me because it's missing the fun workflow, you know? Because you have to start on a box, add edge loop, shape it vertex by vertex, edges or faces. I didn't like that, so yeah. You can imagine why I like ZBrush so much. So I'm gonna move this a bit like this. And we're almost done, like really doing our trees, but I'm gonna add more. I'm gonna subdivide this and add more hook. So I'm going to my snake hook. Starts with a S, so B, and then S, B, S, and then as you can see here, the assign shortcut key is H. So after, of course, you remember the brush name, remember the shortcut key. But most of the times, if you just like remember the name, you can just hover around and just look on whichever shortcut key it's assigned to. In our case, it's H. So click H. I'm just gonna add more trunks right here. Maybe two up, maybe somewhere in here. And maybe somewhere in here. And maybe in here. And let's see. Don't worry too much about it being so thick like this. You can use the same brush to kind of like drag it down like this. Snake hook is kind of like your move tool. Depends on which one you like, but the snake brush has more like power moving wise because it really drags your mesh in. That's what I like about it. So this is really useful making fingers on a character, tentacles, of course I'm gonna say tentacles, trees, like whichever that needs to have a, you know, things like this. But there's other ways of making trees and we're gonna get to that later. Something like this. Now what I'm going to do is, of course, Dynamesh again. Maybe this time we are going to up the resolution so it keeps that initial shape right there. I'm going to play with my move tool and just move everything. Something like this. I'm going to Dynamesh again. The shortcut for Dynamesh is hold Control, left mouse click drag outside your mesh. But make sure that you move your mesh first or you sculpt on it. Because Dynamesh is not going to work unless you make a change first in your geometry. So I'm just going to pinch this and kind of make this thinner because that's how trees work. If you live on planet Earth, that's how trees work. Usually the top parts are thick. Wait, why did I say thick? Usually the top parts are thin and the bottom ones are, you know, thick. Yeah. I can't English anymore. But yeah. This is how you make a tree initially. Bases. Easy, right? So more shaping because it's fun doing this. It's always fun doing this. You can even make a, what do you call those? Roots using this. So let's go back to our snake hook right here and add roots. You know how roots of the trees work, right? Kind of like the same thing on the top, except it's attached to the bottom. Depends on you if you want to do this, but I'll probably do just a little bit. It's too thin for me, so I'm gonna maybe make it big like this and drag. And then drag. Then drag here a bit and in here. So something like this, and now we have something that looks like a tree. Yay! So I'm gonna go back to my clay buildup. Change the alpha into this. This is the default alpha for clay buildup. And I'm just gonna sculpt and smooth. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna Dynamesh first. So I can sculpt in, as you can see, add more definition on each part right here. And I'm gonna Dynamesh again. The fastest way to smooth everything is go to your deformation and just drag this polish right here. Make sure it's an open circle though, not a closed one. Just drag up, and as you can see, everything is going to be smooth. Even this thing is on the top right here. But like I've said before, if you don't want the top here to be affected, just mask it. Everything that you mask is not going to be affected, so just polish. As you can see right here, even have your polished crisp edges right here. Make sure you open it first and then you use it. And it kind of like polishes the edges. So it's either going to make that sharp or smooth. But most of the time it makes it kind of like sharp if you have a really sharp high definition mesh. Like if this is all the way around 500,000 or I don't know, 900k or something, and you use the crisp edges right here, it should sharpen the edges. But just play with the settings right here. The settings are your best friend, okay? And make sure that after you use this, that you smooth the parts right here. So hold shift, left mouse click, and then just smooth it. Okay? So we have something like this. I'm gonna go continually move these things right here. And of course we are going to pinch this. Make a good looking tree out of this. Use my snake brush right here to have more power moving stuff. And we're almost done. Like, I mean, you could be done before me. It's just I'm really picky in terms of this. Alright, last thing that I'm going to do is add definitions. So something like this. Play with my intensity right here since we're using a mouse. You know, tree. This is how trees are made. If a kid asks you, Mommy, how are trees made? They're made like this. With my hands. Tell them it's made by my hands. I'm the tree creator. So I'm just using clay buildup and I'm playing with the brushes. So I'm either holding Alt to sculpt in or just left mouse click to, you know, sculpt. Yeah. So something like this. And I like to always sculpt in here at the bottom because, you know, I like my trees lifted. Something like this. Now you have something that looks like a tree. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to save this. Because, you know, Zbrush like to crash and... Well, don't wait until I start appearing in your head telling you I told you so. Because I'm telling you, this thing will randomly crash, especially if you have a lot of programs open. Like, I have Unity, Photoshop, Maya, and Vegas Pro to edit videos open. Even have OBS right now, recording this video, so it's really helpful if you save. Okay? So let's leave this like this right now. And I'm going to Z-plug in, pre-process current, and then I'm going to do the same old decimate this. So we have something that looks like this. And we can go ahead and check the topology. So this is still too much for me. Depends on you and how much you want, but I like to go as low as I can. Okay, so pre-process again, and this time half like this. So 527. Let's see. Sometimes when I want to keep the initial shape of my tree, but like when I decimate it, it's not really going to keep it. Like there's no other way of keeping it. I just go to Maya and manually delete edges and loops. One thing that I'm gonna tell you guys though that I missed telling you on the beginner class, like this is basic, but it's my fault for not including it on the beginner's class, is make sure that you only have either a square topology or a triangle one. This is called a tris, this is called a quad. You can either have this two and that's it. You can't have a topology that has something like this. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 vertex. You can't have that. You can only have 3 vertex right here or 4 vertex right here. When you import a model on a game engine, it automatically converts your quads, your 4 vertex into tris, something like this. Something that Zbrush is currently doing on decimation right now, which is why it works either way. But you can't have more than that. You can't have more than 3 or more than 4. Like, I can't express how important this is. If you import your mesh in a game engine, and if you have more than 4 vertex, that part of your mesh is not going to show on a game engine. And you're gonna have to go to your modeling software and refix everything. So make sure that you only have 3 vertex or 4. Okay? So back to decimation. So something like this, let's see. And maybe something like this. Alright, I'm gonna stick to 356. That's good enough for me. And one more thing. When you guys import this in Maya, make sure that you fix your mesh. Sometimes Zbrush doesn't do it much, but sometimes, rare occasion it does, is it leaves open geometry. So it's not close. Like this is going to be black, like there's nothing in here. Like pretend there's a hole here. This thing right here doesn't exist. You have to enclose that on your 3D modeling software like Maya. You have to extrude it and snap the vertex in here, in here, in here, or somewhere, and make sure that you merge every vertex. You can't have an open one. Or again, your mesh is not going to show. That messed up part is not going to show on the game engine because it's messed up, okay? So make sure you fixed everything before you actually import it on your game engine. And just like that, we're done doing our tree. I'm gonna save again. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna hide this, and now we are going to create a tree in Zbrush, just in Zbrush. Alright guys, so part 2 is going to be on the next video. I'll see you there. Bye!